only recently have I seen that you've been doing podcasts, in the last like
because
year or so.
because I'm free now. I can make my own decision when I work for Sony. Of course, PR department, has to approve everything. So,
Yeah.
they have a, dedicated spokesperson for whatever project, they assign. So when I was doing PSVR 1, I was so much involved in doing PR activity as well. But PSVR 2, I moved on to, Indies initiative,
Yeah.
on the, third-party relations side. So I was taking interviews on the indie game support by PlayStation during the PlayStation time. But even that, I was only allowed to talk about indie games. But this time it was a perfect timing when you reached me out was when the Meta announced the big layoff and shutting down studios, right? So
Yeah.
I thought, this is the time, this is a time that I would join podcast.
Yeah.
So
It's a good. There's a lot of changes coming. Like obviously Valve are launching their VR headset, which I don't. We've known about it for a while, but I still think it's an interesting move.
yeah.
And you've got Steam
Well, it's a
Machine as well.
positive move, right? It's
Yeah. Here's Bradley.
Hello, hi, Brad.
Hi there. Nice to meet
Great to
you.
see you.
See
Nice.
you too. Thank you.
All
I
right, cool.
watched the 2 podcasts you released.
Oh.
So I know about you now.
Oh,
I'm very
thank you so
glad we
much.
have a technical expert.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh, I'm sure nowhere near as good as your expertise and stuff in the industry, but thank you.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Gamertag and Bradley VR podcast. With us today is a very special guest, Mr. Shuhei Yoshida. How are we doing, Shu? Thank you for joining. We were just speaking before we started recording about how he's basically now free to do pretty much what he wants to do now, so he can join these podcasts and talk about stuff freely. Just a bit for some transparency and clarity, I have sent him some questions already that have been that he's kind of happy to do, which I'm really glad about. So firstly, how are you doing, Bradley? Are you good, man? What have you been up to?
I'm good. Next week is my 10-year anniversary of being in this industry, and I've just been working on like sort of stuff to celebrate that. But other than that, good. Thank you.
Nice, dude. Congratulations. 10 years in virtual reality.
10 years of hell. Yeah.
And am I looking at your like a live video input this time? Not
this is
like
the
avatar thing.
No, this is still the silly Apple avatar thing.
Really?
Still,
That's amazing.
It is
I know,
amazing,
right?
isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
it is so amazing. I think some people don't necessarily still 100% believe that he is in a VR headset right now. I think it's incredible.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. So, Shuhei Yoshida has been, as far as I'm concerned, he's a living legend in gaming, and I'm very humbled and very appreciative that he's joined this podcast today to talk about the past, present, and future of PlayStation VR, but not just PlayStation VR, VR in general. So first question is, what have you been up to since leaving PlayStation? Because I believe you've left 1 year ago, roughly this month.
Yeah, right. 1 year ago. January 14th, last year was my last day at PlayStation. And
has it gone quick?
Really...
Has the year gone really quick?
Yeah. So I joined PlayStation project in February of 1993. Wow. So that was like how many years?
The PlayStation
7
project.
years plus 25, so 32 years almost.
Amazing.
For 31 years, I was with PlayStation, and I was the first non-technical person to join Ken Kutaragi's team. And when the company Sony Computer Entertainment was established, I was given the employee number 32 because they gave the number from the top to the bottom, and I was like a manager level. And we are like an 80-person company, subsidiary of Sony and Sony Music Entertainment Japan. So it was really, really, really fun to start the company and work on PlayStation. So I'm going to talk about, PlayStation VR was my, most fun project that I worked on. So
Yeah.
I worked on these like a startup, twice. So the original PlayStation and PSVR, I didn't anticipate I was able to have that kind of exciting activities from the, very beginning,
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, dude. Like,
Yeah.
how many
Yeah.
PlayStation units were sold in the end?
I
can't remember.
100 million per platform or like that. So,
Jeez.
released 5 consoles and 2 portables. So maybe, I don't know, 600 or something
Oh my
like
goodness.
that. Yeah,
My
so
goodness.
last year, so I left PlayStation, and the last 5 years of PlayStation was, promoter of indie games, both inside Sony and outside. To talking to people in the company, important people, that how important it is to support the indie games, and also working with younger people in the company who are, assigned to work on indie games. They are very passionate about games and really fun to work with them and encourage them, you are doing the important work, not just for PlayStation, but for the whole industry, because indie developers create the future or something like that. And externally talk about great indie games coming out on PlayStation or like that. So that was my last 5 years, and I was given that role from Jim Ryan, the former president of PlayStation, because he knew how much I loved indie games. So even when I was managing the first party development for longest time, every event I went, like E3 or Gamescom, I went directly to the indie area. And when I found a fun indie game, I took a photo with the developer and, tweeted, because I had lots of followers on X, Twitter. I wanted to help, promote these games. So I was given that role. So when I was leaving, I left the company. I spoke to some of the friends in the industry, the indie publishers, and luckily they asked me to be an advisor. So I'm advising 2 indie publishers and 2 indie developers. Kepler Interactive, they had a big hit last year called Expedition 33. And Rematch,
obviously.
football game was great as well. So they are one of my clients, and another is Fictions. You may not have heard the name Fictions Inc., but you know about Annapurna Interactive, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they released amazing, creative, high quality, indie games, one after another. The whole team left the company last year in September. They had some, problem with the owner of the company, and established a new indie publishing company called Fictions.
That's cool.
Yeah, so core member of, founder of Annapurna Interactive and founder, the same people, the founder of Fictions, actually used to work for me. They worked at Santa Monica Studios and producing games like Journey or, Edith Finch or, Fat Princess, very, very creative
Fat Princess. People. Oh my God, I remember that.
Yeah, I love the, games, small games, we launched, and the Santa Monica production team was the best doing it. But when I was the president of our studio first party development, and at one time I stopped making any small games, as a first party, because there are so many great indie games coming to PlayStation anyway, and making small games only, on one platform was really difficult. So I decided not to not continue. So the people who are at the Santa Monica studio, the producers, lost their work, right? So they left the company and got funding and founded Annapurna Interactive. So
Wow.
now they left Annapurna Interactive. So Annapurna Interactive continues with a new group of people managing the company. But the people who left Annapurna Interactive started fictions. So now I work with them as an advisor. And two developers I work with one is the Enhance, the Mizuguchi-san's company.
Yeah.
They are great
Tetris
makers
Effect
of VR
stuff.
games, right?
Yeah.
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 There's Infinite, Tetris Effect, and now, Luminous, Arise.
That's right.
Yeah. So I've known, them for a long time, Mizuguchi-san, and he asked me to be an advisor. And another developer called Boca Game Studio. They used to be a part of Japan Studio for PlayStation. And
Wow.
Toyama-san is the creator of, games like Siren or Gravity Rush or Silent Hill, at Konami.
Dude, I loved Gravity Rush. Was that on PS Vita, first of
PS
all?
Vita and PS4.
Oh, I loved it on
two
PS
games,
Vita, dude.
we launched. So they became independent. When Japan Studio was shut down, they, as the team, became independent and started the company called Boca Game Studios, and they launched a game 2 years ago called Slit Ahead, like a Hong Kong, like a Kulon based action adventure game. So, they used to work for me. So, they asked me to be an advisor. So I'm advising these 4 companies. And in addition, I'm on the jury or the judges group for all different kinds of indie game awards. So there are so many indie game events in the world, right? And the indie game event comes with award. And many of them want me to be the part of the, selection evaluation process for the award.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I received 20 games, 30 games at the time and play them and give scores and send back, or, join the event to be a presenter of the award. And in addition, I've been showing up in many different, podcasts and, because I had many friends in the media, game, enthusiast media, and many of them have become like influencers. Like, so I joined many podcasts last year, or, took many media interviews now because I don't need to have a permission by PR department.
Yeah. I would say at the moment, doing what you're doing with indies is kind of like the perfect time as well, because indies is where most innovation is happening in gaming. So,
absolutely. Especially last year. Look at all these games, released indie games, so many, when you look at award nominations, Game of the Year, majorities are indies, right?
Yeah.
Like Blue Prince or, Silk Song or Hades, too. So many, Expedition 33, even though they are a bit larger, team size. It's an amazing game.
It really does feel like 10 years ago, if you brought up indie games to even the sort of audience, it was kind of like a negative term, but now it's like, I feel like it's more positive to a lot of people. Now they're getting more excited and hyped up for them than the AAA games in some cases. It's crazy.
I'm talking about VR industry. It's indie led, right? It's led by passion. Like a big publishers, didn't see the money, right? But there's so many developers who wanted to work on VR. So, it's perfect, like a place for indies. And some do very well because they have much less competition. These days on Steam, last year, over 20,000 games launched on Steam. Compared to that, if you make a good VR game, at least your game will be noticed.
It'll be seen by someone. With the recent news of what's happening with Meta, we were talking about this is kind of like a generational refresh for VR. Going even back again to the focus on indie developers more so than ever.
Yep.
So
I
yeah,
watched the episode too, so I know. I really like the positivity, especially Brad you talked about, and I do agree
at the end.
Yeah,
he gave
because
the best message at the end.
because between Meta and PlayStation, we kind of collaborated to create this artificial commercial incentive to developers, and which enabled many VR games development. That was I think positive, but still it's not healthy, right?
Yeah.
If developer needs these infusion from platform, or initially that makes sense to launch the platform, but after so many years, it's almost 10 years, right? From the launch of original Oculus or PlayStation VR or HTC Vive. Yeah, still the industry still need these life support. It
Damn,
felt
it is
like
10 years. It is actually 10 years. This April would have been 10 years ago. It was the first time I experienced VR with PSVR in London at like an exclusive demo. And it just floored me. I thought it was the future of gaming. Like it was incredible.
That's Shark Demo, right? Shark Demo.
Yeah.
We used to call it Shark Demo. You go deep, under the ocean, and the shark attacks. You are in the cage, and also
dude.
this, gun, London Heist.
London Heist. Yep.
Yeah. That was really fun demo as well.
It was amazing. In fact, those demos, it's a real shame we didn't get that on PSVR 2, but those demos, I think people played for the life cycle of PSVR because they were so good.
It was so fun. So before, going into the launch, we did so many hands-on, right? Like at the E3 or Tokyo Game Show or even at the, Starfront. And it's so fun to watch people experience these demos for the first time, especially these Shark demos. They go, that Resident Evil 7 demo as well.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that was scary, right? And at the last moment, you get, stabbed on your knee, and the cheeky Capcom person was hitting your knee when that.
No way.
Yeah, it happens exactly. And that was so fun to watch. So
I never forget watching the demos of PSVR, and someone was playing Resident Evil, and they smacked himself in the head with the controller because they're so scared. And it, like you said, it was amazing seeing these reactions to virtual reality.
And when Mizuguchi-san was giving the demo of Res Infinite to Palma Lucky, Palma had tears inside the headset. He was so impressed with the Res Infinite demo. It was like, he was crying inside the headset.
Bless him. It's incredible. Virtual reality, I think, is I don't know. We're going to talk about the future of VR anyway, but I still think it's an amazing technology. I just wanted to ask you, what sparked the decision for Sony to even try virtual reality as a platform? Because arguably they were doing great anyway. I know they've done iToy, they've done handhelds. So what made them want to invest in VR?
That's like a favorite question to answer. Because PSVR was a grassroots movement inside the company. It happened at almost around the same time at the different studios, first-party studios that I oversaw, and the R&D team in Japan. So what happened, I clearly remember when I was visiting Santa Monica Studio, they are making, developing God of War game on PS3. I think it was God of War 3. And one of the, creative designer asked me to, hey, Shu, come to, his desk. And they put together Sony's video viewer visor, to watch movies or like that. You get like a virtual screen, in front of you. And they attached the PS Move controller to the, visor and connect to PS3 dev kit. And what it does is to input your head movement to PS3 dev kit and output the video game, screen to the visor. So it's like a through the virtual screen, but still, I felt like I was in, God of War world. And when I looked down, I realized I was Kratos.
Wow.
So,
oh my God,
amazing.
dude. That's crazy.
And the enemies approached me, and it's so scary. And I was, hitting controller to beat that. So we are they are doing it as extracurricular activities after work or, weekend. And we are because the PS4 development was starting, with PS4, we can do proper consumer VR games. And other, studios in Europe, Mick Hocking at the, in the UK, they are, he hired some, experts in these, optics and trying to do, much, wider field of view, experiments. And, in Japan, Sony SIE's hardware team was also experimenting with, something similar. So as a company, we agreed, management accepted that let's make PSVR as actual consumer product, as a PS4 family. And I and the head of R&D in Japan, we became like a co-owner of the project to lead the development.
Wow, dude. And so I guess another question I had with you about PS4, how did you know that it was going to be powerful enough to do virtual reality?
Well, we didn't know. We
Right,
hope,
okay.
it works. Yeah, because it's so new to us, but we, so it was really fun, working. It was such a small community working on this technology. Parma was working on, and also HTC, working with, Valve. And every time we got together at events, we invited each other booths and let people, other companies try the demo, and everybody go like this and try to break the system and give feedback to each other, and it's really, really fun. So at the minimum, game has to run 60 frames, per second, consistently, right? And it has to have, really fast, refresh rate and latency and good, good tracking. And that the PS4 system, has to handle all that processing.
Yeah.
Not all, because we ended up adding another box,
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so that PS4, PSVR was like, some people said it's like a Frankenstein of cables and additional processors. And so, it wasn't easy, as you were able to see. And we were very sorry for people who has to, deal with all these cables and things. But at the minimum, I think we hit the level of quality. It was really fun. Parma and other people, we all were so excited and hope this to become a real consumer product. So before the launch of any of our systems, we wanted to make sure that any company's product by Oculus or HTC or Sony has to be good. Anyone's first experience of consumer VR has to be a good one.
Yeah.
Unless it's good, people say that, oh, well, I tried VR thing and I ate it,
Yeah.
So that's the reason we gave, very honest feedback and tried to, share ideas and, almost secret to make things better.
Yeah.
So I think we are able to be initially we were planning the hardware design because of the cost and the challenge is to make it the affordable, product for consumers, right? And so we had the cost target, and initially we are planning to have LCD display for PSVR, but of course it has lots of problems. So eventually we decided, the hardware team agreed, the head of R&D, that let's do OLED. We have to do it, even though it's more expensive. And that helped, really great picture and, shorter latency and less noise. So everything was a battle to get the product complete.
I just want to say, personally, man,
fun battle.
Thank you. Like, I wouldn't be here without PSVR. Like, PSVR was the headset that made me discover virtual reality, because I didn't have a PC. I don't think I could have afforded a PC and buy a VR headset at the same time. And I've always been a fan of PlayStation. So the PSVR seemed the perfect idea and the perfect approach for me. I just want to quickly go on this. So you was talking about controllers. Obviously with PSVR, we only had the Move controllers. How was that like internally debated that no joysticks?
That's a
like
huge
no joysticks.
Huge debate. Yeah, so we had this, camera, right? The 2 sensor camera, and tracking, we had to do the tracking with these, triangulation from the, camera on TV and looking at the controller. And we had a PS Move already for PS3, and it was debate that the hardware team, wanted to discontinue, it's a PS4 next gen, we don't want to carry over the last gen. But in the end, they agreed to redo a little bit of change from the USB-C mini to micro, or, these
something like that,
things. Luckily, and agreed to continue. But the huge debate was, one part of the team members, obviously having hands is such a huge impact, right? So wanted to bundle, 2 moves and the camera as a standard for everything. But that really pushed up the cost and price, almost by, $100. So in order for us to make it, $400 price, the launch price, we made it, optional. Because not all games require,
that's correct,
hand controller.
Yeah.
And actually the regular controller is better for games like, Gran Turismo or racing game or some, other games. And we put the tracking on the regular controller, DualShock 4. That was really, I really liked that feature. It wasn't like a perfect tracking, but, some games, the Brazilian game,
Pixel Ripped.
Pixel Ripped.
I knew you were going to say Pixel Ripped.
You are holding the, portable gaming system inside the VR, right? That was really, really fun. And also the last year's Game of the Year game, the first party Sony Japan team Asobi.
Astrobot?
Astrobot. Astrobot Rescue Mission. It also used the, controller, regular controller tracking very well.
It also gamified it as well, because like things came out of the controller.
They recreated the controller inside the game, and so that was a compromise. Honestly, because of the cost. But so it was a huge debate.
I bet it was, dude. I couldn't imagine it, because you said those Move controllers were actually from the last generation, and PSVR then everything was light-based tracking, wasn't it? It was all about that's right.
And in internal sensors,
like gyroscopes.
All these
I've still got
Yeah.
mine, dude. It's down the back there. I don't know if you probably can't see it from here. I've still got it, and all the rubber has all melted off, and it's disgusting. It's actually disgusting.
Oh, the original PSVR, the hardware design, I was so proud how the weight of the headset
Yeah,
was on your, skull, right? On your head.
yeah,
So
yeah.
even though whatever gram it was, the weight, it felt light, because of that, structure. And some other, headset were like very front heavy, right?
Yeah.
So it felt the weight more than PSVR. So the hardware designer did an amazing job creating that
And it
style.
looked good. It actually caught your attention
Yeah.
because the lights and stuff on it. If you saw someone at an event playing VR, you couldn't help but look like that looks amazing. So you was talking about Palmer Luckey as well on Oculus. So back in the early days, that must have been a pretty incredible experience. Because arguably you, Palmer, VR wouldn't be where it is today without those movements back in the day.
Yeah, it was so fun and inspiring. He was so young at the time and studying the Oculus company with Brendan and Nate and those people actually were at the part of PlayStation family because SIE acquired their, streaming company. What was the name? These days, you can stream PS5 games and PS4 games to your screen, right? And that originally was engineered by the company Sony SIE acquired. What was the name of the company?
Was it Gaikai or something?
Gaikai, yes. Yeah. So, those people, it's such a small industry, they, left the Gaikai and joined forces with Palmer and started Oculus
Wow.
and was sold to Facebook, right? That was a big
Yeah.
news as well.
Yeah. He sold it very quickly as well. I think it was was it maybe a year, 2 years after the announcement of Oculus? I can't remember.
I forgot. Yeah, and John Carmack and so many good people in
John Carmack,
company.
dude. I want to get him on this podcast. Yeah. Like that's one of my hopes to get him on here because I thought the early days of Oculus Meta were very interesting, and I think he had a big input into how things were going. And then obviously he left the company as well.
Going to their event was really fun to listen to these, hour-long talk.
Yeah.
that he gave, like a future of
the rants, the wonderful rants, the technical rants, complaining about everything they're doing.
And his vision for, going portable and standalone, was like, started with the smart home thing. What was the name? They worked with Samsung. And
the
at
Gear
that
VR.
time,
the Gear VR project?
Gear VR, Gear VR. At that time, including myself, wasn't sure, is it the right focus that he's giving? But when they launched the Quest, and this is it. This is what he was envisioning from the very beginning. And also my friend, Jason Rubin, was the head of game development for, Oculus and then Meta. And I worked with Jason when he founded, Naughty Dog. We published Crash Bandicoot, and I was the producer of that game.
Wow! Oh my God!
When I moved to US from Japan, and I became responsible for the US game development, we acquired Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog became a subsidiary of Sony Computer Entertainment. So we've been friends for a long time, and I was so excited that Jason joined as a head of game development for Oculus when I was the head of game development for PlayStation. It's funny that, our friends, so we have shared friends. I worked for PlayStation, like a PS1, PS2, and he acquired many of these developers.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Sanzaru or, Radiant Dawn,
Oh,
yeah,
oh
friends
dear.
of Jason.
Oh,
And
dear.
when I heard the news, I was it was a bit comfort that it wasn't, Jason didn't have to do it, because he moved on to something different.
Yeah.
Um, so,
Yeah.
but
Ready at
still
Dawn were incredible.
yeah. They did so high end, graphics for
Lone Echo
PS3
was probably
days.
the Order.
Yeah. Order. Yeah.
Dude,
They
that
had
was insane.
incredible. Yeah. So when, Oculus shifted gear from PC VR to, standalone, it was a misalignment, right? Radiant Dawn, all about, high-end graphics. And now, they cannot use their expertise on Quest. So it was a bit sad, but
I would say
understandable.
that was the shift, really, when everything started changing from being like at the moment, I would say PCVR is now the lesser platform, and Meta changed their gaze to standalone. But I've always argued that we needed PCVR or high-end games to prove what VR can be. This is what it's going to be one day.
And it's good that the Quest is a PC, VR headset, right?
Yeah.
I use
Yeah.
Quest to play PC VR games. So
Yeah, same. I
Yeah.
do as well. It's
Yeah.
pretty convenient. You know about the news of Valve's hardware coming up, the Steam Frame?
Well, I listened to your episode 2 and I didn't know it's coming so soon, right? I was thinking maybe later this year or even next year, but it may be coming in a couple of months. Amazing.
Is that right? Yeah, I think we said it was hopefully March.
Pretty much.
Yeah, probably something like that.
I'm going to be buying the Steam machine as well. I've decided I'm going to get the Steam machine because Brad's getting the Steam machine. And I'm just excited to see if it can play VR games, like will it work in that way?
Of course it would, but the cost of that thing, this product will be going up every day, I guess.
Yeah.
I purchased Log Xbox Alyx. I'm a big portable gaming PC buyer. Every year I buy one or two. And last year I purchased, Log Xbox Alyx for $999. And it's, reasonable price for portable gaming PC standpoint. But it's so expensive from console standpoint. And they just announced they are going to raise the price of that product, or Asus announced. I could be wrong. Maybe it's Asus version, not Xbox version, but all PC makers have to deal with the rising cost.
Yeah. Same as software. Software is going up in price sometimes. Recently, but I would say I still remember buying games back in the 90s that cost the same as they do now, like £50, £60. Some N64 games were £70 when they first launched, which I don't know what that would be in today's money, probably about 100 if inflation was correct, which is pretty crazy. So just going back to PSVR, if you don't mind, what do you consider the greatest achievements of the first generation PSVR?
I think by joining the effort with Oculus and Valve and HTC, I think we were able to make the whole thing bigger, like a bigger newsworthy thing for the media to cover, or create different, experiences like Shark demo, or, these, every company had its own, some angle to attack these, new, experiences. And of course, we cover the console field, and the other companies cover the PC and mobile. So I think we played the role pretty well. Of course, we could have done better, something, but I think we are able to do our job. At least like Palmer used to say, we didn't poison the well.
No, that's absolutely right. I was going to ask you also, is there anything you think you could have done differently looking back?
The PlayStation, they supported this grassroots effort. Like we didn't create any business plans or anything. We are like, this is amazing. We should do this. And the company supported. And of course, they are, accounting group, counting, computing the cost of goods and the P&L. So it wasn't led by any financial reason. And the company supported, I think, as much as they could sensibly, fiscally responsibly. But because of the timing, I felt the most important thing is to give hands-on demo to as many people as possible. And we tried, at the events or like that. But I wish there are more opportunities for us or other companies to be able to do and give really good demo to people.
I would say that's one of the things that's really missing now is going
especially
hands-on.
after COVID, nothing, was allowed, right?
Yeah, especially after COVID, every event you went to was full of wipes, face masks. You had to change everyone was scared of like things touching your skin, which made it VR even more of a no-go for some people. But I would argue PlayStation had the best demos at any event, easily.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And at the same time as we are working on consumer VR, there that effort on the location-based VR, right? And some of them are so good. And these shops were popping up in different cities and, still going on. That's great. But because of COVID, all shut down, right? That is so unfortunate because it was the perfect way for people to experience VR for the first time. Even like a free walking kind of experiences. Amazing, and touch the wall or some objects, right?
Brad, have you had any location-based experiences that you think about?
Yeah, there was the big one that used to be open here at Disney. Oh my gosh, what were they called? They were so popular. Oh, the Void. The Void was just so like Shuhei's saying, like they would literally map the game to all the walls and try to have like 4D effects of like wind blowing at you, certain things. Like that is just a crazy, just tailored experience that it shut down as soon as COVID happened. But now there's like there is Sandbox that's like spreading, but no offense to Sandbox, but it's not what the Void was back then. That was just crazy.
Yeah, I think my favorite was Vertigo Games Arizona Sunshine, where they gave you NES guns to use that were tracked, and it was just me and someone else walking around this room. And obviously the game, you don't know you're walking around the same space. The game cleverly changes to make you feel like you're playing a whole level. It was amazing, and there's still many people I don't think who have experienced something like that. It's a real magical experience. A game that I wanted to talk to you about, Shu, as well, and I didn't put it on the list and I apologize, was Firewall Zero Hour on the original PSVR.
Yeah. That
Dude.
Gun attachment, right?
Aim controller.
Was so good. Yeah. Aim controller. Yeah. Aim controller. That was so good to hold the big gun, and in the VR, you see this heavy, armory, it was so fun. And
just in case no one knows what we're talking about and they're watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
This thing is, oh my God, it's covered in dust. But I can't get rid of it. It's a legacy
that was the
item
closest thing to the location-based VR experience.
And we got joysticks for the first time with PSVR. Yeah, what a great game. That was, I think a lot of things in virtual reality now, I think multiplayer is a really big component of VR being successful. And I think Firewall did such a great job of that.
I remember, one of your questions, early demos, what really stuck with us, with me, of course, that Shark demo and the London Ice were great, but the one thing we created, we called it social VR demo that we didn't release to consumers, but we showed off at events like GDC and let people try. Was so much fun. We put together a very simple area and, we go in and, online connected and we have, move controller to use two hands and we put many object with the physics-based object and we just play, some sports games or, beach volley or something like that. It was so fun. And every time we did demo, there's so much, laughing and crying and shouting from that demo room and everybody who, walked by, what's going on?
Yeah.
And also you must have tried the first demo of Oculus Touch. That
Oh,
was
dude.
so well put together. Yeah. And I got the demo for the first time with Palma. And Palma and I were in different rooms, but we are playing side by side, with all these, toys. And in my mind, my memory is I felt like I visited Palma's house and we kind of played together in the same room. That was so fun and showed the potential of the social impact, social nature of VR. And now
Yeah.
seeing the popularity of games like Gorilla Tag, clearly, yes, that's so much fun. And it's
Yeah.
kind of ironic that that's the metaverse that, Meta wanted to see happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, Apple Vision Pro, I've only tried it once, but I think Apple Vision Pro does a fantastic job of making you feel like you're actually talking to someone in the same room. I'm sure, Brad, do you get to use that feature a lot?
Once in a while. It's hard to find other people to do it, but yeah, it's pretty amazing. Even just like, I remember when it's a different version of this where it's like they put it in like a 3D space when you call someone. And I remember when that came out, I did it with a couple of people and we put up a big screen that was just my PC running a PC game, and I had them tap into that screen. So it was like we're both, and then we kind of like sat next to each other on our couches, but we're on the other side of the world, and we're both able to see each other, like hold the controller in our hands with our photorealistic avatars and play the couch co-op game on the screen. And that was amazing. And like we did like a little joke where like we were able to fist bump each other like when we beat the level or whatever. I'm surprised there hasn't been more work even on just like bringing back couch co-op in a VR space, because that's something that's kind of just a lot of people are nostalgic for, but you don't really have that anymore now that everything's online gaming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's also
amazing.
something like that as well. It does exist in MUVR. You can have CRTs, old televisions, and have like the NES, PlayStation, Dreamcast, and you can play the same games standing together in a bedroom. It's incredible. There's so many great things out there. So I just want to say, Shu, like the fact you've been Kratos in VR has blown my mind. I can't when you told me that, I thought there's probably only a handful of people in the world who have been Kratos in VR. That is,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
that's
That was
insane, dude.
incredible feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, did you have the big muscles and stuff? Were you like,
Yeah.
oh my
Well,
God,
at least other people experience becoming a Batman or,
Batman?
Deadpool or,
Yeah,
other
that is
heroes.
amazing. Yeah, so I guess that's covered kind of the past of VR. Brad, have you got any questions about anything about that at all?
Oh, I just wanted to say, like, I just want to like comment that when you're talking about the early days, like 2016, 2017 release things, and like that grassrooty feel of VR, it just made me feel so nostalgic. I always like miss those days because I think that's like what we kind of lost during like when the metaverse boom happened. Like you didn't get much of that anymore. It was so sterile but yeah, I remember those days even just as from the other side, just getting into the technology as a consumer and doing the YouTube stuff. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, it was like the Wild West. You never knew what people were making, and you never knew what you were going to experience next. There was a game I wanted to talk to you, Shu, before I move on as well, that used the aim controller, and I'm struggling to remember it. It was, and I'm going to kick myself for not knowing it. It was like a sci-fi shooter.
Yeah. You move on
Farpoint. Farpoint. Was it Farpoint?
Farpoint. Yeah. Farpoint.
That was amazing.
Farpoint was the game we launched the aim controller with.
That's correct.
And that was the vision by a game producer called Seth Luigi. And Seth, I worked for longest time. He was the producer of SOCOM game on PS2.
Yeah, wow.
And
I didn't know
it
that.
was his vision. He was like, we have to bundle the headset, with every copy of SOCOM, even though the cost might, go up. So he's such a, visionary in terms of, creating the whole experience. And he was like, we have to design this, big gun controller for
So
this
you're
game.
saying the aim controller was actually designed potentially with a SOCOM VR game?
No. The same producer led the project.
Oh, okay. I just thought, man, SOCOM
Seth
would have been
Luigi,
amazing.
the same project. Developer was totally different. Yeah. But
how much was that controller back then when it launched? Do you remember?
It wasn't expensive.
More than 50, less than 100, I think.
Because I remember thinking that really, like, even though the lights or whatever, the light tracking system wasn't like the highest fidelity, the ability just to be able to like release a pretty comparatively low cost accessory like that was kind of just something you couldn't do with any of the other systems at the time. So that was kind of awesome.
The software team in the US, was so smart people. They called themselves Magic Lab in San Mateo. Yeah, very small team. 3 or 4 people did all these tracking algorithm.
Crazy.
Great work.
I rarely struggled with light-based tracking back in the day, and it's crazy to think now. Like everything's inside out tracked. Like all VR headsets, I think going forward are going to have inside out tracking. So it's definitely come a long way. So now we're heading into the present state of VR and PSVR 2, I guess. So, and I thought this was incredible, by the way, what you did. You've been very supportive of many titles, but one of them was particularly nDreams Reach. And I think you're a big fan of nDreams anyway. They've done some great games.
So I have Reach t-shirts.
He's got Reach pants.
Yeah.
That's
I was
crazy.
officially, hired by nDreams, and nDreams, friend of mine, and Tom Giro, the current, CEO, president of nDream, used to work for me. He worked at London studios, and he worked on, iToy games and PSVR games, so we've known each other. And he asked me, we are launching this new game. Can you be a spokesperson? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you attended a game
but
show
my
as well.
favorite PS2 game is their previous game called Synapse. That's an amazing... Well, Reach is great. I love Reach, but Synapse was amazing game. Using eye tracking and just look at and grab the enemy and shoot the enemy, bring down the, enemy. It was so fun and amazing experience.
Visually striking as well. The choice to have like a black and white background and everything else with bright colors on the PSVR 2 OLED screen. And as you said, there hasn't really ever been a game that gamified eye tracking like Synapse. And it made the best use of PSVR 2's technology.
Absolutely, yeah. And there are 2 games. One is Synapse. The other is called Before Your Eyes.
I don't think I've played Before Your Eyes, man.
Yeah. Before Your Eyes is a great game without VR, but it takes the camera input and the game watches you blink. So every time you blink, the scene progress. It's a game about the, young boys, short life. So it tracks, from his baby days to his last days and from
Wow.
boy's perspective. And it's amazing game, and you can play, under 2 hours, and almost everyone at the very end of the game cries, have tears. And especially in PSVR, because it's exactly, you are looking at from the boy's, eye, perspective, and the game looks at your blink and, progress the scene. So it's amazing game, and it's, short game and, pretty cheap price game. So I recommend everyone who have PSVR to try.
That will be my weekend mission to play before your eyes, and I'll let you know. But yeah, there was another game recently that used eye tracking pretty well to do something similar. And again, I'm struggling to the Midnight Walk. The Midnight Walk. Did you try the Midnight Walk at all?
I played it non-VR version, but I haven't tried. Yeah, I should, because it got the VR Game Award, right?
It did.
The Game Award.
Yeah, it's very interesting art style. It's like claymation, so it's very similar to like things like Wallace and Gromit. It's pretty striking in VR, actually. It's pretty amazing. So, not to bring the tone down, but I do need to ask this. Earlier in 2025, I think it was on Kind of Funny with Greg Miller. You mentioned being sorry for being wrong about PSVR 2's trajectory. Could you explain what you meant by that, and if your views have at all changed?
Yeah, so when we are launching PSVR 1, I was explaining to Kind of Funny, or, I don't remember if they are Kind of Funny or IGN, the Greg Miller and the team, that this is like original PlayStation. This is the very first generation of consumer VR. And every generation, it will be a huge leap, technical leap, and everything will become better. So, this is our PSVR first generation. And so he kind of, took my word for it. Oh, okay, so next gen will be like a PS2. PS2 was amazing, right? But, PSVR 2 didn't become PS2. So that's why I said, sorry. I didn't lie. I didn't mean to lie, but I was hoping that will happen. And I think from technical standpoint, I think it pretty much happened. The leap from VR 1 generation to PS2 generation, VR 2 generation, not just PSVR 1 to 2, but all the, Oculus product and other product have made a huge leap. Like we are talking about tracking and, lenses, much, thinner and, display, etc. Everything has become better, but the experience, the games, experiences are pretty much the same. I think that was the biggest. I was talking with other people the other day. So for the launch of PSVR 1 or Oculus, there's so many amazing new game experiences, VR experiences from many different developers, right? These Beast Saber or whatever. But, in the second generation, I think the only invention would be the gorilla tag movement.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people say that.
That was the invention of this generation. But I don't think there are any other. So I think that was the reason that the, kind of that excitement or, novelty effect didn't, happen.
Yeah. I've never thought of you as like someone who lied. I just thought you were optimistic. And like, if you watched our last episode, we were saying like, to be involved in anything that is still considered a niche, optimism is important.
I'm very optimistic person.
Yeah,
and I forget the bad thing, quickly.
Yeah,
so.
that's what it's all about. So now we're heading into the future of PlayStation VR and potentially VR in general. Where do you see the future of PlayStation VR now and VR in general? Like, where do you see it going from here?
Well, I left the PlayStation team, so I have no idea their plans. But because PlayStation team is works per platform, right? They, launch a platform. So PSVR 1 was part of PS4 ecosystem, and PSVR 2 is part of PS5 ecosystem. So as long as there's a PS5, I would expect they'll continue to support it. And the developers are still releasing good, PSVR 2 games. The first party is not doing anything. That's kind of sad. There are, a stream of good PSVR 2 games coming out, like And Dreams, keep doing great job. You talked about Midnight Walk or other games, and Microsoft Flight Sim
Yeah,
will be
I was going to
coming
ask you
out,
about
right?
that.
That will be really good. GT7, Gran Turismo 7 is amazing, isn't it?
It's
In
insane.
PSVR 2.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
incredible.
so
Did
there
you?
are certain games that naturally fit with VR and without too much, not easy, but without too much effort by the developer.
I was going
Like
to
Brad talking
talk to you
about
about
the hybrid.
yes,
Certain
hybrid.
games works very well. Hybrid, very natural, like racing games and first-person view, adventure game, like horror games. It's just natural. And there are some company or group, that port the normal game to VR game, like a flat to VR or something.
Yeah.
They are doing amazing, job, great job.
Yeah.
And if Valve comes up with a way to automatically convert normal 3D game to VR game, that will be amazing.
Yeah,
That,
one of the things we speak about is
mm.
Theme Frame is being able potentially to play flat games in 3D.
Yeah,
I
that
still
will
love
be
3D
really fun.
technology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really additional nicety to have.
That'd be
So-
amazing, dude. I think it was Brad who was
Yeah, so
talking
the
to me
future.
about.
So talking about PlayStation, they work on one platform generation at the time. So it's up to them how they design the PS6 generation. I
Yeah.
have no idea, and I think it's really challenging for them or any console. Actually, Xbox has gone to PC, right?
Yeah.
They almost kind of, they're gonna make PC and call it Xbox or something like that. So totally went different way. Nintendo is doing their thing, and PlayStation is left there. But I don't think they can just do the same thing, meaning the better performance, high fidelity graphics.
Yeah.
It's so strange for me to say, but the high, graphics, high fidelity graphics is saturating, right? I cannot even tell, what is ray traced or what's not, unless it's like shown side by side, even like where is the difference? Of course, I can tell the frame rate, better frame rate is great, but in terms of other graphics features, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
And the games, low fidelity games, when the gameplay is great, people love it. Look at all these indie games, right? These games, indie games, indie teams, small teams, creating amazing game experiences. So, so I have no idea what they're gonna do. What I know is they have amazing, great hardware team. I worked with hardware team closely for longest time, and they are top notch. I was proud of our first party studios, always trying to make the best, world best games, we're going to create. And hardware team the same, we're going to create the world best hardware. So even though it's challenge to make it meaningful to consumers, but at least they will engineer really good hardware. So there's a rumor about portable PS5 or, whatever. Yeah, that could be very expensive. I have no idea, but I'm sure they're going to engineer really, really great hardware if they do.
I would talking about like retro feelings and stuff. I think the only time I ever feel blessed about being older, in my 40s, is seeing the progression of gaming technology. Like when arcades were at the forefront. If you went to an arcade, you saw something that was impossible to play at home. As now, everything is home-based. You can play the greatest looking games on your TV. And I think that's where, as well, for me, I think VR takes it another step. I think that's and some people, I think this is leading into my next question about, do you think VR will ever go mainstream or remain a niche in technology? I always think to myself, that's still the next step of amazement for me, is playing a game that looks, as you said, it's very hard to look at a game now and be impressed because everything looks impressive. But with VR, you can be in the game. So I always feel that's still the next step.
Yeah, it's a different experience. When we launched PSVR, I always explain to people in general that with many generations of game system, one thing in common: the game world was behind the screen, right? You are
Yeah.
only looking into the game world through this screen, but in VR, you are inside the game world.
Yeah.
That you cannot recreate with any hardware like a normal, display TV setup.
Yeah.
So as long as there's a device and a good PC or console to run VR, there'll be amazing, continue to be supply of good, VR experience that's not possible on regular flat screen.
Yeah. I really hope
Yeah,
more
I
indie
totally
developers.
agree. And
Yeah.
things like a micro OLED or some small like a size system, right? And that eventually will become like a Ray-Ban glass like AR, XR, VR all-in-one kind of system that people wouldn't feel, strange wearing
Yeah.
like regularly.
I mean, talking about it being a niche and mainstream, I think in some ways AR and VR is still where lots of technology is innovating, about size, form factor, heat, getting rid of the heat from a headset, and these different like processors that are being made to do these standalone experiences. Steam Frame, going back to Steam Frame quickly, will you be getting a Steam Frame? Are you interested in checking out that headset?
Asking me?
I'm asking you. I know Brad's going to get it because he's like the ultimate Steam Frame leaker. So
I have purchased like over 10 like VR headsets in the past.
wow,
And considering the price would be probably over $1,000, wouldn't it be?
I don't know. What do you reckon, Brad?
I think Valve's, this was before the crazy RAM stuff going up, but they did say it was going to be cheaper than the Index full kit. But
Oh, wow.
yeah. Surprisingly, because there's a lot more going on in this headset than the Index full kit.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I will wait. I will wait
Yeah.
to see. I'm very happy with Quest 3. That's a really good hardware.
Yeah.
And yeah, I haven't, I haven't purchased Apple Vision Pro either. It's a bit, yeah. I'm
that's a
waiting
crazy
for
thing.
like a third or fourth generation of Vision Pro.
Yeah. Vision Pro is a huge investment. I think they were going to. Well, there was rumors there was going to be a cheaper version, Brad, wasn't there, at some stage?
I think they
There's
pushed that way back because, so like you're talking about like the advances and like micro OLED one day, like that's the stuff I'm interested in. That's why I like go to all the wacky component shows where it's just like random prototypes from companies that are still that's kind of this another. And the hardware side, the silver lining is there are still companies that are making the tiny pieces in the hardware side that gets us closer to it, no matter what state the industry's in. So
Yeah.
it's always fun and exciting to see how that's improving, because even the Vision Pro, $3,500, has the craziest technologies and expensive things you can put in it. It's still not good enough for, I think, the technology to go mainstream. So we still need way more development in that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's quite a heavy headset, isn't it? I believe. I've heard.
Yeah, it's like 650 grams.
Yeah, that's quite a lot, dude.
Yeah.
So back to you, Shu. Do you
Mhm.
believe Sony should continue investing in virtual reality based on everything we've talked about with the next generation, PS6? Do you think they should? I'm not saying you know, because you've clearly made it clear that you
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
have zero idea about their
Yeah,
plans. But what I know, working with the hardware team for a long, long time, is they know that in terms of technological expertise, once they stop working on one field, they'll be left behind. So
yeah,
whether they'll create a product like PSVR 3, or I have no idea, but I'm sure they'll continue working on R&D of the tracking or optics or, display or whatever.
yeah,
And actually Sony headquarter is actively working on something like for creators, like a use kind of
yeah.
thing. So
Have
there
you
are
seen
many
that,
different
Brad?
teams at Sony working on these products.
Have you seen that headset, Brad? I think it's I have seen
Yeah.
it. It's a little grey headset, isn't it? It looks pretty
Yeah,
cool. It
it's a
looks like a
little
business thing.
yeah, it looks like it actually looks quite similar to the Samsung Galaxy XR headset that recently came out. But yeah, even the Vision Pro, a lot of the high-end components are all from Sony as well. So it's important whether Sony themselves are releasing hardware or their partners that they constantly make components for, they'll still, I agree, at least from the outside, that they'll be still iterating R&D for this medium.
That is awesome, because I always find Nintendo an interesting player in the space, because much like PlayStation, they do things that are just more than being a games console. Like this year, for example, they're releasing Virtual Boy all over again. Like they're
Yeah, I pre-ordered already.
yes, same. I was like, this is crazy, but it's also amazing. Like, yeah.
I used to have Virtual Boy, but I didn't have all the games. So it seems like I'll be able to experience some of the games I missed
Yeah,
back
yeah.
then.
I take it you have a Nintendo Switch too, obviously.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah, it's so
In
good,
Japan, we
dude.
had to win the lottery to be able to buy one. But I won. Yeah, I did.
You had to. Sorry, what did you mean by that? You had to win a
Well,
lottery.
Nintendo asked people to enter into like drawings. Yeah, because they knew they didn't have enough supply of the hardware
Wow.
at the launch.
Yeah,
And I was lucky enough to be selected as a lucky winner of the day one purchaser.
I had no idea that was a thing. Do you think, going back to, I guess, one of our questions earlier about hybrid VR games, talking about PlayStation, I think one of the things that stops developers using the DualSense controller in VR is there's no tracking on the controller. As on
Yeah,
PS4, the DualShock had a light bar for tracking. So I guess that's why we don't see many games use the controller in VR. But do you think developers, and obviously with you being in connection with many indie developers, do you think the hybrid gaming approach is probably a safer bet now for VR? Like more games that are available on a flat screen and playable in VR optionally?
Well, VR developers have been surviving through different times, right? Difficult time. At one time, there are lots of venture money available, and they moved on to something different. And at one time, there's a Meta money and Sony money, and that kind of things may not be available. So they have to be smart, to
Yeah,
do some B2B business industrial VR solutions work, or do the hybrid, games, right?
yeah,
And, yeah, at least, if they are passionate about continue to work on VR, or, Generation Z gorilla kind of games.
yeah,
I know some of the developers who shifted, to that are pretty successful, financially.
yeah.
So
Gorilla
they
Tag's
have
very
to find a
successful.
way to survive.
Yeah. And as someone who championed VR from the beginning, is there any advice you would give to developers? Obviously, again, working with many indie developers, if they are considering making a VR product.
If you are passionate and you have to make one, do it, but do not expect the huge financial success. But if you really want to create something new, some new experiences, I think it's less competitive market,
Yeah.
than the regular games. So you might be able to be noticed if you
Nice.
make a great game.
Cool. Unless anyone's got any other questions, I don't want to take up too much of your time today. Are you all good, Brad?
Yeah, I'm all good. This was wonderful.
Thank you for staying up long.
We are all
yeah.
in different time zones. Like, what's the time for you now, Shu, where you are?
It's 6 p.m. So
you're 6
good
p.m.
time for me.
I'm 9 a.m. And what's the time for you, Brad?
4 a.m.
Oh my
Oh,
guys,
It
thank
was
you.
worth it. What are you talking about? This is a great time.
It's insane. I just want to say thank you all for getting together. It's not the easiest thing to do. I don't want to go too crazy as a fanboy, Shu, but thank you ever so much for doing this. It means a lot to me, and it will mean a lot to the community. And I wish you every success in everything you're doing now. And I love the fact you're still doing things that you're passionate about. That is that's a life worth living.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Cheers,
for
guys.
having. It was really fun conversation.
I loved it, man. I loved it. And I always follow you on X, and I look forward to hearing about your next projects.